Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Affinity Podcast. Today I have the lovely Bhavika with us. Um, she's just finished her program, I'll say a couple of weeks ago, and she has lost a massive 20 kgs and she's leading up to her wedding now. And with no further introduction, if you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Vinay. 20 kg and counting. It
Mm.
hasn't stopped, still definitely continuing. So my name is Bhavika. I work in the finance sector. So very busy, typical 9 to 5, if anything, more than that kind of job where I do have a lot of travel, since I work in the sort of sales side. So it is quite an intense day to day. And I live at home with my fiance. So whilst doing my main day-to-day job, I guess my second job is being the wedding planner for the wedding approaching in a few months now. So that's a bit about me. Born and brought up in London and kind of always been in this area. So yeah, a bit about me.
What led you to, decide? Obviously, I know I'm guessing one of the point was the wedding and stuff, but what was that moment in life when you said, you know what, I need to kind of something about my health and fitness, and I need to take it in my hands now and actually, you know what, make that decision today, going up, and why did you then reach out to Affinity and join Affinities? What were your struggles and what were you struggling with?
Mm. Biggest factor was my back. So during COVID, I really badly pulled a muscle in my back. I think that just came down to working hours and how I was sat working. And since then, since 2020, 2021, I continue to suffer from really bad back problems. So I have
Hmm.
a L3 disc bulge, and it was just an always ongoing issue. And I believe it was literally the few days before I got proposed to. We had a really lovely holiday planned to St. Lucia. It was a beautiful proposal, but what really took away from that moment was the few days before we were due to fly out, I really badly pulled my back.
Hmm.
And after that, I had to go through a series of interventions and trying to just get myself rehabilitated. Obviously, things like painkillers and those sorts of ways of helping didn't always have a positive effect on me and my body. And it wasn't the best of times, both physically and emotionally. And essentially, I got to a point last year when I was starting the 12-month countdown to the wedding, where I was like, that's it, I've had enough. Everything I kept trying just led me to pulling my back even more in the gym,
Hmm.
or anything that I would try to do, I overexerted. So I needed to find a way to just really simply and slowly find a way to actually get back on track and have that accountability, not over pushing and overexerting myself. I did it once before. I did it pre-COVID, and I
Yeah.
blame COVID for putting me into back onto the starting mark. So I really had to just take it into my hands. I got fed up essentially and just said I need to find something that works.
So would you say your main reason was the back, and it wasn't like, obviously a lot of people they're not comfortable in the skin, right? I've worked with many people, and some people sometimes like when I just don't, they look at themselves in the mirror, I don't see myself
Mm,
or how I used to be. Yes, we've get many side of stories where, like myself as well, my history is from like, I started with weight loss because I had a doctor's appointment. Doctor said you need to change stuff. That led me to do what I'm doing today. Um, Nick's was different. He was like going down a slide on holiday, and the guy goes, "You can't go down that slide, mate. Like you're too big." That was his. Like everyone's got the point. So would you say like just was it the back, or was other factors playing in the background that you didn't know of? Like, actually, I do want to still make a change. Yes, back is one thing. Yes, I know I need to improve on that. But was there anything else like with you, your partner, anything else that was like more convincing to you say, I need to do this as well?
yeah, I think one of those internal factors that really pulled on me, it was my happiness and it was my confidence.
Mhm.
I didn't really realize how unhappy I was until I think I was on that initial call with Nick. And I think one of the questions was like, how would you feel if you didn't do it? If you look back a year from now and you were kind of getting ready for the wedding, how do you think you would feel?
Mm,
And I think that's when it really dawned on me, do you know what? It's 12 months of my life, 6 months on the program, but I've got 12 months to just really lock in and focus on something that has been putting me back or maybe even holding me back from achieving what I think I could achieve. And that second piece, which is the confidence, I really felt like this was one thing in my life that has been holding me back from so much,
mm,
just from being my true authentic self. And I'll go back to how I was pre-COVID. I was just a lot more free, a lot more confident, in almost like a flow state. And I wanted to get back to that feeling. But this time around, it's so different because I am, a few weeks out of the program and that consistency is still there. The
yeah,
motivation is still there, but it's having to have gone through that whole process. I'm quite fortunate that I'm doing it with my partner at the same time. So I have that second layer of accountability, but it was just really digging deeper and understanding, well, what was that driver? And it was the happiness and the confidence. And it's still something that it's intrinsic, it builds up bit by
mm,
bit. I'm not saying that I'm this super confident
mm.
person. Of course, we all have our own quirks. We all have our own sort of, you know, areas of growth in that place. But it is a big factor, making sure I show up as my true self.
But I can vouch for it. Just saying, obviously, I've been speaking to you on calls for 6 months now, right? I've spoken to you on the first call that we had, week one, to the last call, and you kind of see that like on the first call, okay, okay, Bhavika, I need you to do all these things, and you're like, okay, yeah, okay, like you do all that as well, and you're staring at the screen like, okay, I need to do a lot, and as you go through it, right? You're like, yeah, okay, I've done that. That was easy. Right? That's done. You can see the confidence grow within yourself. When we talk on calls as well, um, in the early days compared to the latter days where it's like, yeah, okay, I had that issue, but this is what I did, rather than saying, yeah, when I had that issue, what the hell am I doing now? Like, but there is confidence that way as well. It's not just looking confidence and feeling it, but confident backing yourself to say, no, actually, it did go down, but I didn't go with it. I kind of stuck to it, and I'm doing my things, right? Um, and that's what it's about as well. Um, if you were to describe a day in your life before Affinity, so before even joining, if you were to briefly say, you know what, if you were to describe anyone listening to right now, what would your day in your life look like from morning to night?
I would say if I had to like summarize it as a theme, it was a very reactive way of living and not a proactive way of living. So if I were to give you an example of like a normal day, I'd wake up in the morning just in the nick of time with my alarm, rush to get ready and head to the office. I'm pretty much back 5 days in the office now.
Hmm.
But back then, 4 days in the office, I had that one work from home day to play with. But I'd be rushing to the office. I'd grab some breakfast from the office if I had time, if I didn't have a meeting to run to. If I'd skip breakfast, I'd be like, oh, go on then, I'll have a lunch. I wouldn't have prepared lunch, so I would go outside, end up spending a lot of money on eating out, getting my lunches from outside. Would have bought maybe one, if not two coffees or
Hmm.
drinks throughout the day. I'd 3 o'clock like clockwork, feel that sugar crash or that feeling of complete low energy. So I'd go grab a snack or, I'd still go out, I'd go get regular steps in, but it wasn't with intention. It was with the intention of I need to find something to kind of cure that sugar spike. There'd be snacks all around us in the office. I wouldn't say no. People bring in donuts and cakes for birthdays. I wouldn't hesitate. I would maybe initially, but I wouldn't say no. I'd be like, oh, go on then, I'll have the full slice rather than, oh, let me just have a small taste. Come home, usually plonk myself on the sofa, and both Robbie and I would become some couch potatoes. If we had dinner prepared from the weekend or leftovers, maybe we'd go for that, but it would usually end up in a takeaway or some ready meal from the fridge that wasn't really healthy, wasn't mindful. And honestly, like I said, really reactive, and it'll be so emotionally charged.
Mm.
Uh, Going through stressful periods with work, through the whole wedding planning phase, I'd reach for the snacks, the food. And a funny thing that we've observed recently, before we would just reward ourselves for the smallest bit of activity. So, say for instance, if we walk to the local Tesco to go grab the meal, the ingredients to make the meal, we treat ourselves and say, "Oh, look at us, we're so good. We walked all the way to Tesco, we grabbed the food, we prepared the meal. Let's go treat ourselves and go order some really nice dessert or go around to the corner shop and grab some treats."
Mm.
But it wouldn't be something we share. We'd grab something individually and we'd feed into that temptation. So that was what it used to be like, very reactive, very emotionally charged.
And would you say with that all that within all that, obviously, there was no working out, there was no thinking about in terms of steps. It was basically like wake up, go to work, do what you gotta do, come back, and just chill. That is it. Because I'm a good busy job for yourself, busy job for a Ravi, uh, and you just became a lifestyle. And how long do you think you did that for?
Oh gosh, I think the best part of 2 years. I think not to put the blame on him from when he moved in. Definitely, I think we maybe aided those behaviors in each other just a little bit.
Hmm.
But that was consistent for the past couple years until we joined the program for sure. Um, and yeah, yeah, like I said, it was just really reactive. It wasn't planned at all. Gym as well. Maybe I'd go one day without a plan,
Mm.
with this kind of plan or idea of what I wanted to do at the gym or what I wanted to leave feeling like, really pumped and energetic. And I'd go back to how I used to work out pre-COVID, where I had lost a bunch of weight, had a lot of strength, so I could push a lot more weight. So I'd go back to the gym and try and do the same. I'd do that one day, be completely sore the next day, give up the rest of the week, back starts aching, back gives out. 2 weeks later, we start the cycle again, go to the gym. There was no routine whatsoever. Similarly with Ravi, and I'm sure he will share more. Again, it would be like kind of let's start, and then you just fall off the wagon,
Hmm.
um, and use any excuse in the book to justify why we fell off that routine.
It became like a comfort life, isn't it? It's just there. Now looking back at it, so the past 2 years compared to now, where would you say where you are? Like, talk me through your results. Talk me through like, how much time you spend working out on yourself, how much kgs you've lost, changes in body, how do you feel, energy, mood, just your lifestyle. Where are you now after joining Affinity and like finishing the program?
Yeah. So where am I now? 20 kg down, still counting, like I said. And I'd say that's about 2 to 3 dress sizes. And just before this, I was sharing with you how the other day I had my outfit ready for work. It was a pair of new trousers, funny enough, that I bought. And a blouse that I've worn for quite some time, but I thought this would go really well. Put it on and it did not fit me. But this time, for the other reason that everything looked really loose, really baggy. And of course, if I'm going into the office, meeting with clients, presenting, or whatever it may be, I want to look formal and I want to look clean and put together. But none of my outfits in the wardrobe were doing it, to the point I was so late going into the office because I literally had to try on everything in my wardrobe. And looked at Ravi because he had to, in that moment, become my fashion advisor and help me through it all. And he's like, "This is probably a really good problem to have, right? You feeling good inside?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am chuffed inside, but at the same time, I am so late." So I'd say what has changed, what's led me to those changes, it's routine. And honestly, it's keeping a super simple routine. We now, instead of designing our free time around relaxing and I guess finding comfort in food and doing nothing, we actually find comfort now in being organized and planned. It's funny, I'm a super duper organized person when it comes to work and professional life, but now I've brought that mentality into our day-to-day life, whether that's having a weekly meal planner stuck on the fridge to just having a plan ready to go for the end of week, from organizing our workouts and knowing that we're at least getting those 3 workouts in the
Hmm.
week, organizing our time effectively so that in the evening we know if we've got a little bit of time before we get cracking on with wedding planning, maybe we're going for a walk, maybe we're just checking in if we've got all the ingredients we need, and if we need to do a food shop, planning that food shop. Quite lucky that Ravi works from home, so he has that flexibility a
Yeah.
little bit more to do some of those things at home. But me just driving that structure and that simple routine has been a huge, huge change. And it's really interesting. Like today, I was like, oh my gosh, like I could really do with a snack, like a naughty snack. And I was like so close in my mind, like, oh, maybe I should have something and go over those calories just a little bit today. But what's really changed is knowing that there is a goal to work towards. So before it was 6 months with Affinity to now wedding day. And I remember before we closed off the program, it was, well, what's your next goal? And it was so nice to just be reminded, well, you can always put in that next goal and continue working towards something. So that's definitely helped having another goal to work towards, which is the
Hmm.
wedding, but also shaping that routine around it and being super duper consistent with a routine.
And how much of a difference have you seen in physical change?
A lot. There have been people that come up to me at work on a daily basis now that have actually come up to me and said, I'm so sorry, I've just had to do a double look because I almost didn't recognize you. Like, you look amazing. And it's really flattering. Obviously, you don't notice it because sometimes you look in the mirror, you just see the same person. It's hard to explain that psychology.
Okay.
But it is often the case. You look in the mirror, you see the same person because who you are in here doesn't necessarily, the foundations of who you are doesn't necessarily change, but the physical person that you are, it does, and people do notice it. I've seen the changes in my face, like my jawline, my ring keeps slipping off my finger, which is a really great indication, but probably not a good thing. It's not just the clothes, but it's also that feeling of feeling in a really weird way, weightless. It's like a weight has literally been lifted off my shoulder. I run upstairs now. Um, I couldn't run upstairs and escalators. I will run for my train. I will run for my bus. No problem. The stamina, the strength has definitely picked up. My arms, sometimes I flex them, and then Rory's like, "Oh, look, you've got muscles," and it's like, "Yes, I do. I've got muscles now," and it feels really good. I feel stronger. I feel a lot more. Um, I feel a lot more like my posture is better as well. It's a small thing, but it's a big thing for me as someone who has a back problem, that weight has been literally been lifted off. So if I am having a day where I'm feeling maybe a bit stiff or sore if I haven't stretched enough, and sometimes when it's really cold, I know that it won't take 2 weeks for that feeling to go away. It will take a matter of 20 minutes, if not 24 hours, depending on how I'm feeling. So that physical strength, not just the dress size, not just the clothes, I think that's been my biggest shock to me, that I've not
Mhm.
just lost weight, I've actually become stronger underneath it all.
And that's the thing, because I remember when you joined, it was, as you said, right, you had to get joined because you wanted to improve your back. Since joining, to how the back was, how has the back been now, like in terms of feeling it? How do you feel like throughout the process we made you, obviously we put you in a program, we put you on a gym program, you went to the gym 3 times, 4 times a week, you're doing all the steps. Did you feel like, oh my God, this guy just understand my back and it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah, initially I felt like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to be able to do all these workouts? And I remember messaging you every day. I would have a workout saying I skipped this part because I just didn't want to risk my back, or
Hmm.
I wasn't feeling strong enough. And I really used to use that not as an excuse, but a way to protect myself from ever going down that route again, from potentially really hurting myself. But then as I got more confident and stronger with the exercises at the gym and worked on my upper body, and you really helped me understand that it's not about pushing big weights or heavy weights. Sometimes it is just starting off small and working on my upper body and my upper back to really strengthen that, which now supports my lower back and does make me feel a lot more comfortable going into the gym. I mean, the other day I leg pressed 90 kg and it was something I wanted to get up to, and I really want to keep pushing at that because it's a great exercise to feel really strong and feel that power in your legs.
Mm.
And I always caution myself going up and up on the weights on things like leg press, for instance. But I was able to do it. And yes, okay, I do it again with caution because my back may feel sore a little bit after, but it's not, oh my gosh, you know, completely puts me off. It's the next day. I just have to be a bit more mindful. I'll
Yeah.
make sure I've stretched afterwards. And we talked so much about mobility and stretching, and we incorporated that into my workouts, into my day to day. As long as I'm doing that, keeping up with steps, walking has been the medicine for my back, I would say, is better than having to rely on the painkillers. So it is trying to get into that the next day, the walking, the stretching, and just making sure I have that plan if I plan to push heavy, to just be prepared the next day to not go straight into a gym session, but
Hmm.
actually take care of the back.
And that's the thing, right? It's just about a little bit management of things. And the same thing people say, like we get stories or people tell us, oh, I don't have time for this, or I don't have time for this prep, or actually, no, I can't prep for that. Did you ever feel like, when you first joined, and you're like, okay, I need you to go out and do all these things. Did you look at it and said, shit, I don't have time for that? Or when I said to you, oh, you know what, I need you to think about a week ahead and roughly not put a bulletproof plan together, but roughly think about what foods you're gonna be eating. Did you ever feel I don't have time for that? And now comparing that to your way of living now, and now that the program's finished and stuff, how does life look like now compared to rush, 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 not have time, do all these things, come home. And now it's like, okay, cool. You just wake up before in just 5 minutes before bed. Now you gotta fit in your 10,000 steps still, you gotta fit in gym, make sure meal prep is done, make sure you're taking lunch with you to office if you're going office lunch, or if you're grabbing something that is pre-planned. Come back home, dinner's all done. And if the steps are not done, get them done. And then if gym's not happening in the morning, in the evening is happening. How do you plan all that now? And how is life changed now on that type of things?
I mean, going back to the first part of that, which is how did I feel when we were asked to do all those exercises in terms of the planning and preparation? It was overwhelming, but as once we did that exercise once, we didn't really have to do it again because it's all about simplicity. I used to rack my brains around, okay, I need to be counting my macros, I need to be making sure it's broccoli, rice, chicken every day, boring meals. What often I think you may be trained to think is what is the key to losing weight. I think there is sometimes a bit of misunderstanding of what the key is. And what I've learned and what helps me do that and plan that is just by being so simple. I mean, we like our fast foods and our junk food flavors. So instead of doing outside pizza, we make our own version of pizza, which is within our calories. It's still probably a lot healthier. We control how much cheese is on there, and it fits within our plan. And it's a weekly staple. And it got to a point where we thought, oh my God, Vinay's going to get so bored of seeing that same pizza picture every week. But it worked. And the proof is in the pudding. I'm down those numbers, I'm down those dress sizes. It all simply just came down to being really simple with it and not overthinking it and not trying to be like anyone else but yourself. I think that was so important, and that has been the key to the consistency even till now, is that do what works for you. Yes, there is a longer term goal I know that we want to be working on, which is the healthy side, the nutrition side. But I think to at least get that first step, which is seeing the numbers go down on the scale consistently, effectively. We haven't had to give things up. We have not given up socials. We've just done everything in moderation. And if anything, it's it's been really fun. It's been more intentional. We are so much more intentional about how we spend our time, not just together, but with family and friends.
Mm,
And I think that has helped us show up a lot more openly and a lot more with a lot more clarity with the people around us as well. And I think they have seen that as well. So just keeping it super simple, not trying to overcomplicate it, I'd say is the big difference. Before I'd go in thinking, oh, I need this wonderful plan, this really precise meal plan. Yes, everything needs to be weighed out, but it's also that understanding of chasing perfection isn't necessarily going to get you there, but doing things that work for you in your time and your remit as well, that can really help you get the results that you need.
100%. And you have to do it at your own pace. Everyone's pace is different. I remember because obviously you and Ravi joined as a couple, right? So obviously at times you was like, well, hold up, why is his one moving? Yours is not moving. And it's like you get a bit competitive as well, which is good. But I worked a couple of sometimes one's flying and one's not. Both dropping still, but maybe one's dropped 5 and one's dropped 10 already in the same time frame. And you're like, well, why is mine not? But both individually have their own bodies.
Mm,
The body respond differently, and you have to respect that a little bit. As long as you can put hand on heart and say, you know what, actually, you've done everything possible that's been laid out to you, followed everything. You're honestly doing that. In time, your drops will come,
yeah.
and they will happen. It's just you have to be more, as you said, right? You're not looking to be perfect. You just want to look to be more disciplined and just consistent. Just purely showing up for the past 6 months has led you to doing this. If you only showed up for three, then we wouldn't be here.
Mm.
All right. In that time, you managed holidays, you've managed birthdays, you've managed social nights out with affinity and on your own. You managed a trip to India to wedding shopping. Would you do you think you would have managed all that like when you first joined? You're like, okay, I got all this stuff coming. Do you think you were afraid, or if I kind of went overboard, or if I went India and then weight came back, and did you have those feelings?
No, not at all. I actually came back from India and I enjoyed my time there. I came back, I had maintained, but I had the best time because I used to be so nervous and really lacking confidence going into those shops, trying on outfits. I went into those shops, I was able to try on everything I wanted, all the styles I wanted to try on. And I felt really bad every day eating all the bad food. Don't get me wrong. There were some days I just said I'm not going to send Vinay any pictures because I don't want to admit how bad it's been. But I came back. It took a day or two to adjust, but I just got straight back on it. I went straight into the routine breakfast while I was there and I had a day of normality, I found a place that did the kind of breakfast I would like, tried to get the steps in, really limited where I could. But I think having that routine and having that accountability measure with you as well, just to be like, look, don't punish yourself for it. It's done now. You've had that week. You've enjoyed your time. But now let's get back onto it and just having that motivation. I think that was really needed. I think in that time, just having that, also that grace from someone who's your coach, you're going to every day with your food and your meal plan, and they're tracking that weight loss. And to have that grace from you to say, it's okay. Like, you've planned for this. We've planned for this. Let's just get back onto it. It doesn't disturb it. And I'm 3 kg down since. I'm still battling with that dropping below that 80 zone, but I will get there. But it's better than nothing. It's better than staying stuck or going up on the scale. And so, really pleased that we were able to manage that.
In the last 6 months, what would you say your biggest learning curve has been? Biggest eye opener? Something you're like, oh shit, can't believe I didn't do this before. What was that like? The difference?
Short-term pain for long-term gain. And the pain is the cravings. I am such a cravings girly. I love my chocolate. When you're PMSing and you just want to cave in, I am that person. I will cave in. But I had to really quickly realize it's that short-term pain, just having that bit of discipline and that consistency. And don't get me wrong, there have been times where I have had to cave, but rather than going full in and giving up after having maybe one small piece of chocolate, I think just learning that you can get back on it. But short term for those long term gains has been the biggest lesson and so worth it.
Yeah. And if you were to describe like in words how it feels in words, be 20 kgs down. Like it's not something easy to, like it's 6 months of work basically that you put in. And do you think you would have reached up to 20 kgs? Like, when you join the program first, you everyone's got their number in their head. No one says it, but if you're signing up to a program and that is gonna help you lose weight, you're like, okay, 6 months, I think I want to lose X amount. Probably had that figure in your mind before you even, if you're to describe in words, right, briefly, how does it feel overall to be 20 kgs down, and how does it feel like, do you feel like before you joined, you had a number in your mind that I want to be that number before X amount of times? Because I remember, when you first joined, I made you set a 30-day goal. I made you set a 90-day goal. You had a 9 month goal, and you had Mount Everest. Remember those goals, and now think back, what have you done, and have they been achieved or not?
Yeah, firstly, it feels insane. There are times where I still don't believe it because I remember being at that point where I was like really fed up and really frustrated. And I came across the Affinity page and I kept looking at these transformations like, yeah, like that's achievable. Like, let's be realistic. There must be some cheat code behind this. There must be some drawback. But it is achievable, and like I said, I am that living proof that it can be done. Um, yeah, I just didn't think it would be possible. And now that I'm 20 kg down, I just think about what can I do next. I think that Mount Everest is just a complete overhaul in the lifestyle. I do like a lot more sports and activities, so ideally taking those on and becoming more active in those spaces would be super amazing. But just to kind of be at that point, yeah, it's an overwhelming feeling, and I can't wait to actually see that being put into a bit more of a formal space when I am there on my wedding day. Um, Ravi always says to me, you literally look like another person. So we have to just sometimes remind each other, yeah, we are still the same people that we fell in love with. We are still here, but it's just that physical part of us that's changed a
Because
bit.
saying that right, I remember like even Robbie saying as well, like, when he hugs you, he's like, oh shit, where the rest of you gone? Right? And I'm like, it's not there anymore.
That was, yeah, I think that was one of the biggest changes we had to get used to. He's like, there's not really much there to cuddle anymore. So that's been something to really try and get used to, which has been really funny. And like I said, we were proper couch potatoes, but now it's not even comfortable to snuggle up on the sofa. Like we have to get up, we have to get moving. But it is so much nicer being comfortable in your skin and just, when you're so much happier around each other, so much more active around each other, it really makes a difference. Like we didn't think it would, but it genuinely does.
Yeah. It's just nicely, it's nice that you done it together as well. You both achieved great things together, and you're gonna carry on doing it together. And throughout the process, yes, there's been times where it's been difficult. When I do get that message from you, okay, Vinesh, it's going right. There's something not happening. It's not drop for X amount of days, and I can't be asked with this thing now, or whatever it was. And in the last 6 months, it's not happened once. It's happened multiple times. And what do you think you've kind of learned from, or when that has happened to you, like when motivation has dipped, and you're like, okay, crap, this is not happening now. What's kept you going, and what's kind of kept you going in terms of like, if that didn't happen, would you have kind of fallen off the wagon?
I think firstly it's the accountability measure, knowing that every morning there'd be a check-in from Vinay. How's your day, guys? What's the plan? How you feeling? Come on, let's go get this. And thinking, oh goodness, okay, come on, we got to help Vinay out here as well. We've committed to him. We don't want to let him down. So I think that that accountability factor was huge in keeping us going.
Mm,
And the amount of times where I would just, message you, just, I've just been so stressed. Whatever been going on in the background, things oftentimes out of my control. I'm just so stressed out right now. I'm traveling here, there for work, or work's really piled up, and just having that honest conversation that, okay, you've had one day, you've maybe fallen off a little bit, but what are you going to do about it tomorrow? What's the plan for tomorrow? How are you going to be prepared so this doesn't happen again? Or just learning from that so you can kind of counter that the next time you're feeling that way. I think just having someone on the other end of the line, just being understanding and having that grace and not making you feel like, again, like we talked about perfection, having to show up with this idea of perfection every day. That was one of the main factors that kept us going. I think secondly, having very clear defined goals. Now, this is important to my day to day. I'm a coach in my day to day, and I know how important it is to have clearly defined goals. So actually having that from the very outset, from not just from when we spoke to Nick, but also when we had that proper in-depth call with you to really define what does that, 3 months, 6 months, then that Mount Everest look like? Really helping us picture that what it would feel like once we get there.
mm,
That constant reminder. And sometimes even I'd go back to that goals page where we'd input that just to remind myself, hey, I've visualized this, I've committed to this. There's nothing to say that I can't do it. And I guess last but not least, it is that community that really helped from just asking questions, seeing inspiration for recipes, inspiration from people that have been perhaps maybe doing this for some time or maybe come back onto the program or have been doing this for a short time but seen great results just by being consistent. That was also a great motivating factor that there are other people in this too.
mm,
And they're also in that same mindset of don't overcomplicate it. It was just really simple tips and advice. Even the challenges that were there in the group chat, it was a shame I couldn't attend some of those in-person events that I wanted to, but the challenges, oh, for those of us that love a bit of competition,
yeah.
it's a brilliant way to keep motivated. Like, I just want to get those steps in, get that workout in. Great way to incentivize it and get people going. And that definitely worked for me.
You just have to carry on, right? As I say, motivation will come and go. Um, just not even for weight loss and stuff, just general life. But sometimes you wake up and you feel like I can't be asked to do stuff, right? I get that. Like I've been unwell for the past couple of days. Wake up in the morning, like Monday. I feel okay. I'm okay, but I I get that moment. Like I should just kids are to school. Missus is gone. I could just sleep. I don't have a call till like 11. Let me sleep. But no, it's if you let that happen once, it's like it will
Yeah.
happen. I have to literally go in. I literally went to the gym and just did my workout. And once I did it, it was like, oh look, I'm awake now. You're done with it. So it just comes down to choices you make, and it is down that literally when you wake up, you have that choice. You're walking on the road, and you have a wide road. You're like, well, bad and good. You know what's good for you, and sometimes people still choose like, you know what, actually, I'll do it another day, and that's what I feel that people who keep choosing the other day are always still waiting, um, and it always keeps happening, and this is an investment, right? You put into, right? It wasn't the same thing, right? You're paying for a wedding, right? You know what money is like right now. Um, and when you signed up as well, you knew what you're committing yourself to. So would you say, like, in terms of an investment, how much of a big investment was this in terms of, yes, you invested X amount of money into it, but it was an investment worth it?
Yeah, every penny, worth every penny. And if I didn't have a wedding around the corner, you know me, I would still be like, let's crack on, let's get another 6 months locked in and get to that ultimate Mount Everest. And I think it, in context, the amount you end up saving on having a repeatable meal plan and just actually locking in with a consistent meal plan, I think it completely outweighs that. And this now long-term feeling of if for any instance I fall off the wagon or something happens, something changes, I know I can go back to it because I've done it before. And it just took me 6 months of consistency. But if you break down the work that it took, like a good week of just doing your homework, putting the plan into action, getting back onto the fitness pal and getting the calories logged in, getting those steps and your metrics all ready to go, and just being organized and then just keep on doing the same thing week after week after week. It doesn't mean you're living life by this robotic routine. It just means you've got something, you've got an infrastructure to rely on and you build the rest around it. So completely worth it. Um, and yeah, I'm really glad it is 100% paid off in the end.
Mm.
I think the bigger investment is going to be that wardrobe.
Mhm.
And I think that is one thing that, I wasn't prepared for is okay, just having to find the right clothes and that changing a little bit more. But it's a feeling that who doesn't want that feeling that, oh yeah, I get to buy some new clothes, or I've refreshed my look, refreshed my wardrobe because I'm looking better and I'm feeling better. So it was worth it.
What would you say to someone who's listening right now? And they're like, "Oh, I want to do this so I can put that much money aside for 6 months. I could probably find a cheaper one somewhere else, or I can, with nowadays, AI and stuff, I can probably get ChatGPT to tell me if I told him my weight, height, and all that kind of stuff, right? It'll probably tell me what to do. I can talk to it every day, and it'll tell me what to do, right? Anyone like that listening to it, or anyone who's like, another female who's like just comfortable in their own shoes, and like, actually, I need to do this, but the investment side of things and the money side of things holding them back. What would you say to those?
Well, my first thing is I was that person. I was like, well, why can't I just get AI, an LLM model to do this for me, set something into place, get that structure? How hard can it be? I was that person. I tried and it did not work. It definitely did not work for me. And also to that person, maybe sat there thinking, it's not worth the money, or I don't have that much money, or I can start next time. I'll wait till they've got an offer on, I'll wait till I see something that's cheaper. How many more moments of that are you actually going to have? I know for me, it took me to have my back done that badly in, to have such key memorable moments of my life overtaken by the fact that I hadn't taken care of my health, which ultimately led to some of these bad back problems. I kind of just got fed up, and it will get to a point where you're going to be running out of Mondays, you're going to be running out of those free spaces in time. As you know, as we get older, as we get busier, your time is taken up. So if you're not targeting that earlier on, when that thought and idea comes to your mind, it will constantly be something that you just end up chasing. Big believer, if you can dream it, you can do it. It might sound a little bit cheesy, but with a really clear plan in place, with a coach that can guide you to those goals and hold you accountable to those goals, why not? If you really want to measure it out, if numbers are super important to you and as they should be nowadays, maybe cut back on that one coffee. Maybe there's that one thing that you invest in every day that you're spending money on, which you could pull back. I think we calculated the cost and it was like a cup of coffee each day. And I still get my cup of coffee each day. I've just reduced maybe spending money on actually on lunches and snacks and stuff. So if anything, it's actually helped me in the long term to save up. Which has been great because it's helping towards other things that are coming down the pipeline. But just do it. There's no point waiting around. I was that person. I was like, let me contrast and compare. Let me pull up tables and charts. I just got a really good feeling from the team, from everything that Nick was doing on the page and everything I saw Vinay and the team showing on their pages as well. yeah, it wasn't a gimmick, and it is not a gimmick, which I think is so important. It's not just these cool pictures of people dropping 20 plus kg, 15 plus kg, doing these body transformations. These are real people who have been in those exact same shoes, who have gone through those exact same motions, and it just takes that one moment of just do it. So
Mm.
not to quote any specific brand, but yeah, just do it and it will pay off.
That's it. And we're not saying that people, anyone who listens right now, it doesn't mean, oh yeah, come join us. It's not something about that. It's just if you're on a verge of something, right, or at the edge of something, edge of say like thinking, I need to make health choices right now. Just go do them. Like I just said, right. If you feel like you need to try it yourself. You would learn, then you're like, okay, now I need help. Ask for it. If you don't ask for help, you don't get help. Um, and even as you said as well, right, in terms of investment and stuff, yes, you invested into the program, but how much takeaway did you stop? Like, if you're saying to me before, hey, Vinay, we used to have like 3, 4 takeaways a week. Takeaways are not cheap nowadays. Eating Uber Eats and Deliveroo, two people eating, a decent 30, 40 quid bill, right? With the fees and everything. If you're doing that 3, 4 times a week, Affinity is definitely cheaper, like in terms of cost wise, right?
100%. I think we did end up calculating it on how much we used to spend on our takeaways. I had one of the apps had Uber trying to give me free trials of their premium Uber one because I hadn't been using it in so long that I had all these discounts racked up ready to go. And I was like, oh, great, but I don't need it. I'm not chasing that feeling
Mm,
from the comfort from the food that I was initially looking for. And I think that's that change in that mindset behavior. I think that change in those cravings, the sugar addiction as well. I think sugar addiction is like a really huge thing. Um, I think that has paid off way much more long term, than however much you think it's like this big investment. Average it out over 6 months and that long-term feeling and the compliments that you get, you just can't put a price on it. You can't put a price on happiness, believe it or not. Yeah, fine, I can say I put this much behind the affinity program and the 6 months that I invested in, but this feeling of just being happy, weightless, confident, that I can maintain for free forever now if I really wanted to. And that comes down to the discipline, the consistency that I've been coached on and taught. So that
100%.
priceless, yeah.
100%. Final question. If you were to give 3 tips to someone right now, you know, what would those 3 tips be in terms of like, they're looking to join a program, they're in a program, maybe they're lacking motivation, they're just going through a hard time. What
Mm.
3 things would you say that are like your 3 Viveka's tips to say, you know what, these are my tips if you're kind of on the edge?
Yeah. My first one goes back to what I've kind of had that common thread throughout our chat today. Firstly, don't overcomplicate it. I think we have a tendency to want to overcomplicate things or make things sound more stressful than they really need to be. Sometimes the most simple solution is the most effective solution, and I stand by that. I think secondly is it's okay to have a bad day. We are human, we are not robots. We are not designed for perfection, and I think that is so okay. It's okay to have a bad day. Just forgive yourself and move on. Don't let that one bad day ruin your weekend, then ruin the week ahead of you. It's completely fine. Just forgive yourself, get that grace, and then move on. I think last but not least, what this whole process has taught me, and if there was one advice that I would give to other people, is just it really teaches you to be honest with yourself. And honesty is a really helpful policy to, I think, bring you closer to yourself and to the people around you. Throughout the whole process, I had to be honest with not just you, but even the people around me, my loved ones, to say, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm going to celebrate your birthday. I'm just not going to eat loads of cake with you, but I'll have a slice or I'll have a bite. I want to celebrate you. And it actually brings you a lot closer to people because you're then trying to understand what else connects you with another person. Is not just the meal out with family, it's not just the meal out for date night. It is actually maybe the conversation, the connection there. And that honesty policy has genuinely really helped me, being more accountable to myself, being more accountable to Ravi as well. I will tell him, hey, look, I slipped up today. I went over my calories by this much, or I caved in and I had to have that biscuit today. But it's like, these small conversations open you up to bigger things as well. So lock into that, tap into that honesty, and be honest with yourself. I think that's a brilliant way to unlock your true potential.
100%. If you're not honest with yourself, you just okay, you're lying for it, right? And especially if you've joined the program, your any program or anything you're doing in it, the same thing as people do, right? People join a gym and then go a bit and then it kind of just dies down and then paying for it. It's still there, but you want to believe that you one day go back into it. But if you pay for a program, might as well just do it now. And if you're going to be honest about it, like we find that clients who or members who are honest to us to say, actually, Vinay, I am struggling today with this, or I am struggling with this part of what you're asking me to do. We help you with it. We will, because if you're not telling me, I don't know. If I just chill out, she's happy, she's smiling, and she's cracking on, right? But I always say to every single client of mine, just tell me as it
Yeah.
is, like as daylight. Just tell me if I ask you to do something, can it be done or can it not? Or I can't do that, but this much I can 100%. Okay, let's start with that 100% bit you said too, and then we build on it. And then we can say the same thing, right? With workouts we did for yourself. Okay, maybe 3 days at the start was a stretch. Let's start with one. Let's do, or let's start with 8K steps and then build up. So it's just understanding and having that within yourself to say, no, actually, honestly, this is my limit. And then I want to grow onto it rather than saying, actually, yeah, give me everything. And then I'll give you everything. And then you're like, well, I'm burned out now. I can't do this anymore. Which is really important as well. Um, and you've done it all, right? You've done different planning. You've done the meal planning. You've done the steps you've done outlined. You said 20 kgs being down, which is a big thing. It's not, if you think about it, that's a lot of weight off you. Um, you know, um, I'm sure when you look at pictures of you side by side of the first picture you took to the latest one, you were like, what the hell? Like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And then you kind of imagine what Ravi said to you, the first time hugging is gone. You're like, well, I can see that now, right? Um, and you can see that physically. I remember we had that we did that comparison, me, you, and Ravi, right? And you're like, oh my God, look at that. It's as you said, right? Physically, you said yourself, mentally you see yourself and you're like, oh, I'm the same person, but people see you in the world differently now. You enter
Mm,
into a room and they're like, oh shit, baby guys walked in. They see you now, whereas before it probably felt like, yeah, someone just walked in the door, right? It's
yeah.
that confidence because you walk into that room with confidence now, and
Yeah.
you're not like, let me walk in and hide away. You're like walking in. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's start get to work now. I'm here now. You have that
Yeah.
confidence in you and a swag in you, but that didn't come overnight. It came with
No.
discipline,
Yeah.
and being 20 kgs down. So, um, a big thank you to you putting up the work and it's not easy, but you've done it. Um, and you just carry on doing it. Uh, and that's it. Any final words from yourself?
No, I love that point that you said. I think that confidence to want to be seen versus that feeling of just entering a room and wanting to hide away instantly.
Mm.
Yeah, you really can't put a price on that. Thank you so much to you and all the affinity coaches and members. I think it is definitely teamwork makes the dream work. I
Yeah.
said so many cheesy one-liners, but I think 20 kgs down, and you definitely feel that, yeah, you can be really positive and that can really help you get towards your goals.
No worries. Thank you, Bhavika. It's been a great pleasure having you. And thank you everyone for listening today. Have a good day.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.